All right, so you're ready to tackle worry and live a more fulfilling life. Well, you've come to the right place because today we're diving deep into Dale Carnegie's How to Stop Worrying and Start Living.
A classic for sure. It's packed with practical advice that still holds up today. No matter what's got you feeling anxious, Carnegie's got your back with actionable strategies that you can start using like right away.
That's what we love about this book, right? It's not just some feel-good fluff. This is about real, tangible change,
Yeah.
and we're going to unpack some of the best strategies so you can actually implement them in your own life.
And I think that's what makes Carnegie so relatable. He gets that life is messy. He's not promising some magical cure for worry. He's giving you tools. He's giving you a framework for how to navigate those inevitable anxieties that we all face.
Exactly. Like take his daytime compartments analogy. That one always blows my mind.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It sounds kind of like time travel, which, I'm not sure even Carnegie could manage.
Haha, not quite time travel, but it is a pretty powerful mental shift. So imagine each day is like one of those watertight compartments on a ship. You know how they're sealed off from each other?
Right.
That's what we're doing with our worries. Yesterday's anxieties, sealed away. Tomorrow's uncertainties can't touch you. All you have to focus on is navigating today.
I love that visual. It really drives the point home. But how do you actually do that? It's one thing to say focus on the present. It's another to actually get our minds to cooperate. Our brains are like worry magnets sometimes.
Totally. And again, Carnegie is realistic about this. It takes practice. It's not about achieving some perfect state of zen where worry never enters your mind. It's about noticing when those thoughts creep in and then gently guiding your attention back to the present moment.
It's almost like training a muscle, but for your mind.
Yeah, exactly. And just like with physical exercise, you got to start small. You wouldn't jump into an intense workout if you hadn't exercised in years, right? So same thing here. Maybe start with 5 minutes of mindfulness each morning. Just sit, breathe, and really tune into your senses. Or maybe set a few small, achievable goals for the day. That can help give your day structure and keep your mind focused on what's right in front of you.
So it's about creating that sense of control, right? Focusing on what you can influence rather than getting swept away by all the
Yeah.
what ifs and anxieties that are outside of your control.
Exactly. And that's where Carnegie's famous three-step formula for defeating worry comes in. You heard about this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually really curious to dive into this because it sounds almost deceptively simple. Is it as easy as it sounds?
Well, it is simple, but simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. The first step is all about analyzing the situation objectively, like stripping away all the emotional exaggeration. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up.
Because we tend to catastrophize, like making a molehill into a mountain of worry.
You got it. Our imaginations can run wild when we let them. So let's say you're worried about a job interview coming up. Instead of letting your mind spiral with thoughts like, I'm going to bomb this or I'm never going to get hired, try to break it down into the facts. Okay, you prepped for the interview, you have the skills they're looking for, there's a chance you might do well, you might not. But just by separating those facts from the feelings, you're taking a huge step towards calming those anxieties.
So it's about separating those objective facts from the subjective feelings, which are often fueled by fear and uncertainty.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you so far. So then step two is asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen? I can admit this one always makes me squirm a bit.
I get it. It can be a little uncomfortable to go there.
Mhm.
But facing that fear head on can be so liberating. Because often when we really break down those worst case scenarios, they're not nearly as catastrophic as our anxious minds make them seem.
Right, it's like you're robbing those fears of their power to paralyze you just by acknowledging them.
Exactly. So going back to the job interview example, let's say the worst case is you don't get the job. That's disappointing for sure. But is it the end of the world? No. You still have your current job. You gained valuable interview experience. You learn from it and do better next time.
And that actually leads perfectly into step three, which Carnegie phrases as try to improve on the worst.
Mhm.
So now that you've rationally assessed that worst case scenario, how can you potentially make it better?
Yes. So maybe after the interview, you send a thank you note to the interviewer. You connect with someone from the company on LinkedIn. Or maybe you realize there's a certain skill that felt shaky during the interview, so you decide to brush up on that. You're taking action instead of spiraling into helpless worry.
I love that. So it's about shifting from passive worry to active problem solving.
Exactly. And this ties into another major theme that Carnegie emphasizes throughout the book, which is the power of action as an antidote to worry. Staying busy, engaging in meaningful activities, even small ones, it can do wonders for keeping your mind occupied and less vulnerable to those anxious ruminations.
It's like that saying, an idle mind is the devil's playground. But in this case, the devil is anxiety.
Totally. And it doesn't have to be anything major. Sometimes even something as simple as going for a walk or getting lost in a creative project can make a huge difference. For me, exercise is a big one. It's a great way to release pent-up energy and clear my head. What about you? What are some of your go-to activities when worry starts creeping in?
Oh man, spending time in nature is a big one for me. Getting out for a hike or even just sitting in the park with a good book. It just helps me reconnect with the present moment and get out of my head.
I love that. It's so important to find what works for you, right? What helps you de-stress and shift your focus. Because there's no one-size-fits-all solution here.
Definitely. Now, another point that Carnegie brings up that I think is so relevant, especially in today's world, is the importance of accepting uncertainty and letting go of perfectionism. It's like everyone's striving for this perfect Instagram life, and it's just a recipe for anxiety.
It is. Trying to control every aspect of life and achieve some impossible standard of perfection just sets you up for disappointment. Because life is messy. Things go wrong, we make mistakes, it's inevitable.
It's part of the human experience.
Exactly. So instead of fighting against that reality, what if we embrace it? Embracing that imperfection, that unpredictable nature of life, can actually bring a huge sense of peace.
Because it takes the pressure off.
Right.
You're no longer striving for this unattainable ideal.
Yeah, you're giving yourself permission to be human. And it's also so liberating to realize that setbacks and detours are part of everyone's journey. Even the most successful people have faced challenges and failures. It's not a sign that you're doing something wrong, it's just part of the process.
It's like that quote, perfect is the enemy of good. Sometimes good enough is actually great.
Totally. It's about progress, not perfection. And that leads us to another one of Carnegie's gems, how to apply that don't sweat the small stuff mentality. It's easy to say, but much harder to actually do when you're in the thick of it, right?
Totally. So how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, Carnegie has a brilliant question that can help you gain some perspective. He asks, will this matter in 5 years? Hold your worry up against that yardstick, like a spilled cup of coffee, a snarky comment from a coworker. Chances are it's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Your health, your relationships, those are the things that will matter in 5 years, in 10
It's
years.
about zooming out to see the bigger picture, putting those everyday worries into perspective.
Exactly. And I think when we do that, it naturally opens us up to appreciating the simple pleasures more. Those little moments of joy that can really shift our whole outlook. A walk in the sunshine, a good cup of coffee, a heart-to-heart conversation with a loved one. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life that we overlook these things.
Absolutely. And they really are so powerful when we take the time to savor them. What are some of the simple pleasures that you consciously incorporate into your day?
Honestly, one of my favorite things is just taking a few minutes to sit outside and listen to the birds. I know it sounds super simple, but it's incredibly grounding and helps me appreciate the beauty around me.
Oh, I love that. It's those little moments of mindfulness that can make such a big difference. And speaking of shifting perspective, Carnegie was also a huge advocate for the power of gratitude. It's
Yeah.
more than just saying thank you, isn't it?
It really is. Gratitude is a mindset. It's about actively recognizing and appreciating all the good things in our lives, big and small. And it's such a powerful antidote to negativity and worry. Because when you're focused on what you're grateful for, it's a lot harder to get bogged down by those anxious thoughts.
I've actually been experimenting with a gratitude journal lately, and it's been amazing how much it's impacted my mood. Just taking a few minutes each day to write down 3 things I'm grateful for has helped me focus on the positive, even when things are challenging.
That's awesome. It's amazing how such a simple practice can have such a profound impact, right? It really helps rewire your brain to notice and savor those positive aspects of life.
Totally. Okay, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on one more big worry trigger that Carnegie addresses in the book, which is the fear of criticism. It's crazy how much of our worry stems from what other people might think, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a trap that so many of us fall into. But here's the thing. You can't please everyone. And trying to do so will only lead to anxiety and unhappiness.
Yeah.
It's so important to remember that you get to define your own worth, not other people.
Easier said than done, of
Yeah.
course. But Carnegie has a great quote about this that really resonated with me. He says, do the very best you can, and then put up your umbrella and keep the rain of criticism from running down the back of your neck.
I love that. It's such a powerful visual. It reminds us that we have the power to choose how we respond to criticism. We can let it wash over us, or we can internalize it and let it dampen our spirits.
We have that power to choose how we react, and let's be real, not everyone's going to like you. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's a freeing realization. And often, those who criticize the loudest are the ones who are struggling the most themselves.
It's so true. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? From those day-tight compartments to the power of action, gratitude, and embracing imperfection. How to stop worrying and start living offers such a wealth of practical wisdom that is just as relevant today as it was when it was first published.
It really is like a toolkit. You
Mm,
don't have to implement everything at once. Just pick one strategy that resonates with you and start there. Small changes can make a big difference.
exactly. And for those of you listening who are intrigued, we highly encourage you to check out the book for yourself. This was just a taste of all the insights it contains.
Absolutely. It's a classic for a reason. These are timeless principles that can truly transform your life if you're willing to put in the work.
And remember, conquering worry is a journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing practice. So be patient with yourself. Celebrate those small victories. And keep moving forward one day-tight compartment at a time.
I love that. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep worrying less.
See you next time.